Hey, we're back. We're back. Wholesale Hotties is live again. My name is Sharon Lee Smith, and I'm your MC for the evening. And I'm here again with Donda Mullinex, Monique Fell, Kate Gomes, my three amazing co-hosts. And this week we have Tracy Koa as our special guest. Hey, Tracy, how are you?
I'm good, ladies. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, very excited to have you on, Tracy.
Thanks. Yeah, it's great. I love it. I've never been on a live before, so I'm so excited.
Well, this is great.
Watch what you say, Tracy. There's no editing.
That's right.
You know me. Yep. I'm going to try really hard.
So Tracy, we're so glad to have you on. So I, as these ladies know, I'm not in sub 2. I am in astro flipping, and my mentor is Jamil Damji. And Jamil and all of his mindset teaching has completely changed my life, saved my life, really. And I am so glad to have you on to talk this week about mindset and all kinds of stuff. So tell us a bit about you, Tracy, and tell us where you came from, where you got started, and all the good things, and how mindset has helped you.
I love it. Well, like you, mindset really changed and I would say saved my life 100%. I'll give you a little backstory of my past, and I can kind of go into real estate, which they're far apart, I guess. But we all have a story, right? And our stories lead us down all these different paths. And along the way, we can choose, right, how to respond to these things. And I would say that so part of my story is I grew up very traumatic young life, left home at 15. And until I learned about mindset, hi Donda. Until I started learning about mindset and even realizing that I had a choice, I was just a really angry young person, right? I was like this chip on my shoulder. Everything sucks. Look at my life. And then I realized one day, and I had a friend that was in my life, and, she was just honest, right? And she's like,
is this when you were 15 still, Tracy? When you were a teenager?
No, I was probably in my early 20s at this point, right? No, I was like a really awful, mean person for a really long time.
I cannot imagine you like that, Tracy.
I can imagine that.
So, yes, mindset has transformed you.
100%. If you would have known me like even 25, 30 years ago today, it's different. Like I'm just such a different human because I've continued to work on my mindset like day in and day out. And I'm super passionate about it because without having had somebody who felt safe enough to be honest with me and say, you're an ass. Like, it's just really like, I know you and I know you deep inside and I know that really isn't you. So do you want to do something about it or you just want to kind of keep being this person? Yeah.
Was that like a friend or like an older mentor or just?
Yeah. It was a gal. Her name's Darylyn and we've been friends ever since we met.
I've only heard the name Darylyn like 3 times in my life, and my cousin is a Darylyn. But go ahead.
Wow. Does she live in Oregon?
No, she lives in Rhode Island.
That would be so crazy. It's such a cool name.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah. So she's quite a bit older than me, and I hired her just like really randomly over the phone. We just clicked. And when I hung up the phone, my boss was listening and she looks at me and goes, you don't even have the right to hire somebody. Like, how did you hire this person we don't know over the phone? I was like, I swear. Right. And we've all been friends. That was 40 years ago. And we've all been friends. Right. So, well, maybe not 40, 30, I guess 30 years, but
you're still friends with them today. Huh?
Yeah. We actually took a trip this summer to Europe. We had a great time. Yeah. She's in her late 70s now. Yeah. Oh. So thankfully it was somebody that just really saw the best in me and wanted to kind of give me that opportunity. And so she really mentored me, and she turned me on to a lot of the people that I still really resonate with today, just big leaders in the mindset world.
Yeah.
Like who? Give us examples.
Well, I mean, right. We all know Tony Robbins and Grant Cardone, and they've been inspirational in moving me forward in life. I would say Bob Proctor and Joe Dispenza are two of the people that really helped me get that mindset shift way back in the day. Like that would Bob Proctor was probably the first person that she introduced me to, that really got me recognizing that I had a choice, and I could use these tools to just find peace, right, and find ways to manage the feelings of disappointment and anger and that sort of thing.
So was it like an overnight shift for you, or?
That's such a good question.
Yeah,
no,
right.
It's
a lifelong journey.
Okay, that's such a great question, because I swear, I think that is the problem. Right now, we all know like mindfulness is a whole thing and everybody's talking about it and we're teaching kids, and I love all of that. But I always I was a teacher for 25 years, and I taught mindfulness to my students, and I taught yoga to middle school kids. And, I would always say to the kids, look, guys, this is like the journey of a lifetime, and you're going to feel like you fail literally every time you try to meditate, for example, because it's really, really, really hard to just, quiet your mind. I'm like, I've been doing this for 30 years, and I still can barely sit quiet for a couple of minutes, right? So like,
I don't even try anymore. I just go for a jog, and that meditates my mind, I think.
Yeah. Exercise, absolutely.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept too. Like, because you don't necessarily have to just go blank, right? You can meditate on something specific. Visualization is really, really helpful for this, as is certain types of music that you can use, like binaural beats or whatever, in certain frequencies and whatnot. That can be so helpful to get you into that delta or theta brainwave era where you can really be changing your life.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's interesting that you bring that up, because now we have, data, right? Like Harvard did studies on mindfulness and on social emotional learning, right? And all these different impacts. So now we have data that proves, right, that not just do the different waves, delta and alpha waves, change the frequency, but we've got these neural pathways, right? And like those are so hard to change, and I would tell my students, like, and that's why, getting back to Kate's question, that's why it's just a lifelong journey, because these bad habits, I mean, we do them over and over, and that neural pathway, just gets deeper and deeper, and you're trying to get off it, and it's like, come on, like, I'm trying, let me get off this damn path and create a new one.
Well, and even when you're talking about, like trauma or just past experiences, right? You're peeling back an onion layer. So yes, you get through one layer, but then there's the next one, and then you got to peel that one back. And guess what? There's another one. You know what I mean? Right. So like, yes, that's the beautiful thing though about mindset. It's not like the end goal. It's that journey, and each little step is a celebration, really, that you should be celebrating for yourself.
I so appreciate that. Yeah. I think that's a huge part of it, right? Is like, it has to happen regular. You've got to have a disciplined routine. I mean, I always say, doing it once is better than none, never doing it, right? But
doing what? Doing a meditation?
Or any of it, right? Just any sort of like self-growth, right? Whether you're going to try to do visualization, or, you're learning to sort of change your mindset, or goal setting, meditation. It's better to do something than nothing. But if you really want to make a change, you have to be disciplined. Like, there's no way around it. You've got to, and I'm not saying you have to like wake up tomorrow and do all the things, but you have to pick one area and you have to be disciplined at it. And if you're not, you're not going to make the change, right? And
So Tracy, if somebody was starting brand new and you indicated they need to be disciplined and start one and pick one, what would you highlight to prioritize as the one thing that somebody should maybe want to kind of start looking at, that they might want to do, that would be most benefit? I mean, I know everybody's individual and you got that to look at too, but what could you suggest? Hey, if you just never heard this stuff before, do this, and then maybe try this and then try that.
yeah, I love that. So I would say doing, whether it's a journal, recognizing the things you're grateful for, whether it's you write it in a journal or you just say it out loud. I guarantee you that will change your life. If you do that every day for 30 days, do it once a day, it will change your life. You reach out to me if you do it and it does not change your life, and we'll figure out how to help you, because I've not met anybody that has not made a dramatic shift in their life. When you take,
No, go ahead, finish.
I was just gonna say, when you take that time and you set it aside and you make an intention to be grateful, and it could be as simple as you're grateful for your breath, you're grateful that the sun is shining, you're grateful for your kiddos. I do recommend you take it a step further and you say why, right? I'm grateful for Wholesale Hotties because I'm really enjoying the opportunity to chat with everybody, share my experience, and see what it's like to be on a live, right? So take a minute, right? Just start out, do 5 things that you're grateful for and say why. You could write it down, you could just say it verbally, but do it every day for 30 days. And so I think that's that's an easy one, right? You don't need anything. You don't need YouTube. You don't need, an app on your phone. You just need you.
And you don't need like a goal or a thing that you're trying to achieve. It's just the state of being. I'm grateful for this thing each day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so
And
that's what makes it so simple.
It's hard to be mad. It's hard to be in a bad mood. It's hard to be ungrateful when you're thinking about and you're intentionally putting the grateful things in your mind. It is just a whole different aura that comes inside of you as a person, and that you can embrace, that makes your day just so much more brighter.
Yeah, you draw better people, quality people around you. And we call them like God winks, little things happen. And like, oh my God, this amazing God wink today. We get to share with each other. And just to be so thankful. Like today it happened today. Started off with like doing what you said. I think I was doing Neville Goddard this morning. And studying my day right. And then I got a call from a student. I went and met him. And he asked some questions, and then he shared with me what he was doing. I was like, oh my gosh. And had these calls come in at the same time I was with him. And he just told me about Lake Havasu property. And I had one in sub 2 goes, I'm looking for properties in Lake Havasu. I'm like, oh, you won't believe it. I'm just on this call right now. I want you to meet. And connecting these people, like he's like, you are so busy. And it was like several things. And I had like 3 calls, and everybody had said something that he had just told me that he was doing. And I'm like, well, here you go.
There you go. I mean, it's so true what you said, Donna. If you take that time, I mean, 5 minutes in the morning, you're just setting this positive intention, right? Like Monique was saying, how can you be mad? I mean, you're walking out the door, moving. If you're working from home like we are, you're moving from like the sofa or the bedroom to your office, but you're starting the day just on that positive note, and it makes all the difference. Yeah,
it does. I love it.
One of the things that I have learned to say too when I'm getting up in the morning, I'm still tired, is I get to get up and I get to do this today. Rather than thinking that I have to, it's I get to, and it just makes a world of difference to be able to say that and see it in a different way, because it does something inside of you to make it so much more enlightening and fun.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah. And, now that I'm in real estate and on this journey of growing my business, I've learned and really been practicing even sort of a next step, which is, before bed, I'm, doing my gratitude, and I'm, visualizing how the day went and what it looks like to be this entrepreneur that I'm on my way to become. And then you sort of set that intention before bed, and then you wake up and you start it all over again. And it's kind of the same thing, like, oh my gosh, here I am. I'm so excited. I'm this wealthy entrepreneur and I get to go about my day and it looks like this. And, I love it. How can you go wrong? And anytime I forget, I have my little mantra I tell myself, and it's like, oh, wait, hold on. Nope, that's not right. Let's get back to it.
Yeah, and Tracy, I'm curious to go back to your personal story a little bit, because it's hard to imagine you being a super angry teenager with a bad mindset. Now here you are, the complete opposite. But like, how did that transition actually take place? I'm sure you just didn't start like journaling,
Right. Yeah.
And then you were moving.
Yeah, no, it took a lot of years. And, a couple of things that I recognized. One is that I'm very fortunate that I really truly believe I was born a resilient person. And it took me a while to figure out that just not everybody has that inside of them. And so I used to actually look down upon people that weren't resilient, right? And I was like, oh my God, just like pick yourself up already.
Over it, right?
I looked at 15 and I was homeless and I'm fine. And then as I got older, I was like, oh, wow, you need to be super grateful that you're resilient, that you were able to just pick yourself up time and time again and just move on.
Right.
And that really was a shift for me too, just recognizing that, because that made me pause and start to recognize all the things that allowed me to get where I was and to be safe, right? And to have not, honestly, a 15-year-old, I lived on the streets. I had a whole thing. And you could be dead, So just the fact that I started to recognize how fortunate I was that I had that resilience. And then I also think I had just a growth mindset from a younger age, right? I don't know if it was just within me, but I was able to take feedback from people, right? Like my friend Carolyn that I talked about. And through my life, learn how to take all of these setbacks and challenges and turn them into learning opportunities, right? And growth opportunities. And that also comes with, you need to take feedback from people. You need to be able to hear people say, you're a jerk, right? You're like, oh, wow, I didn't mean to be that like that. Like, and then you have to kind of go into yourself and figure out, what did I say that caused that reaction? And I tell you, I have no idea where I learned that from. My parents were not like that at all.
Maybe that's where you learned it from. You knew what you didn't want.
Oh, let me tell you, girls. But it's just been a journey. It's taken me a long time. But again, just learning from every challenge, every mistake, every heartache, every, breakup, every anything in my life, I've just used it as an opportunity to go, well, that sucked. Like, how do we not do that again?
Right.
Definitely not perfect at that, let me tell you, but
yeah. Life is never going to be perfect.
No, but I will say I'm just so grateful. I think a lot of we lost our home in a wildfire several years back. And without having had all of these past experiences and these lessons learned, I think I would have just crumbled. It's a horrific experience and it's traumatic and you've got a family and you're just navigating all of this. But for whatever reason, it was like, we woke up the next day, we're like, all right, we woke up to a YouTube video that someone sent us of our house on fire. We're like, okay.
Where were you?
Wow.
Where were you? Had you just evacuated to?
Yeah. So everybody had to evacuate. It was like the whole town burned down. It was really sad, like what you see in LA, but on a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
But, thousands of homes burned and, a handful of people died. And it was really pretty traumatic for, the whole community. I was a teacher at the time. I had most of my students lost their home. And, we woke up to this video and it was like, okay, well, let's go buy some underwear and a toothbrush. Like, let's go. And so many people would come to me and go, how are you, like, how are you even at work? And how do you're just rolling with it? And I swear it really has to do with that mindset shift of just being open to learning and growing from all of your experiences.
Yeah, one of the greatest things that one of my mentors had told me, not to me on a previous one, was be where your feet are. Right. And in that moment, right, that's what you're doing, right? Is I'm alive, I'm safe, I'm okay. Okay, what's next? Okay, I need a toothbrush and underwear, right? So you're just in that present moment rather than worrying about what will be in the future or lamenting what the past, all that was lost and whatever. You're just in that present moment and handling what has to be done. And that's, I think, the key to resiliency is that mindset of, okay, let me just, I'm okay, right? My feet are in warm, fuzzy socks. There's a roof over my head. There's food in my belly.
That's right.
Now what? What's next? Let me just handle it 1 minute at a time.
Yeah. I feel like part of being okay in the moment like that is having the faith that the future is going to be okay also, right?
Yes. That's such a great word that you use, faith, because I feel like in business, if you don't have faith, you're not going to make it. And I think a lot of us can attest, especially with, most of us here are in, the Owners Club, which is a little mastermind. And, we're really pushing through getting to that next level. And it's like, you're climbing the ladder. So for, lack of a better, visualization, you're climbing the ladder. You can't see where the top is and you're so close, right? You could just be like a rung away. And if you don't have faith that it's right there and you give up, like, come on, right?
Or but faith that you can do the next step.
Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And the next step. And eventually you'll get there.
Yeah.
It empowers you and it gives you that rocket fuel to be able to go to that next step. Because if you don't have that inside your head, then you just keep stagnant. It's hard to go to that next step because it's different. It's just different when you're growing and changing and doing different things that you're not used to. It's like anything you start new, it's a little bit harder at first. It gets easier as you get better at it or as you've done it more times, repetition, that sort of thing. And so it's definitely makes a huge difference.
And I think too, just life skills, after you've been through things, you're like, that really wasn't that big of a thing. And you just realize each time when you have a challenge, it may be a bigger challenge, but you just like, you know what? It always works out.
Yeah. I agree with that.
One way or another.
Yeah.
One way or another, but
it's true. One way or another. Yes.
What was that? You either learn or you grow. Like, no, what is it? You don't ever fail, right? You don't ever lose anything. You learn or you grow, or
Yeah. So true. Yeah. So it's just been a ongoing, through my adult life, and truly, it's so cool because I have one kid. She's 18, and it's just really cool to see. She recognizes within me how hard I work to become my best self and to change the patterns, right? Those generational patterns. I could have so easily just kept being a jerk, had a kid, raised her the way I was raised, and just been like, like my parents, like, oh, well, you should have seen how I had it kind of thing.
Right.
You could just do that. It's super easy to do that. It's hard what we're doing. It's hard to change and to grow. And so to me, that's like one of the coolest things is to see that she recognizes and appreciates all the effort that I put into, just being a great parent. I love it.
Was there a moment that you can remember where you where you knew that all of a sudden, like, I actually have a choice. I can choose to be this angry person, or I can choose to change.
Yeah, that's so funny. I do. I was in Target one day, this is years and years and years ago, with my ex-husband, who is just a doll, and he's very quiet. And I was returning something, and I'm like at the return desk. Well, I don't even know what the situation was. I probably didn't have my receipt, right? And I'm like furious that they're not going to return my thing, right? And of course, it's probably all my own fault, right? Like I probably showed up, no receipt, and I'm like, hey, this used thing, will you take it back? And I was livid, like I lost my shit. And I remember my poor, sweet ex-husband looking at me thoroughly humiliated. He was so embarrassed with me. And he left, he walked out of the store. And so here I am standing here at the counter. And
Crazy
it just
lady at the counter.
it like hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with you? Like, this is not who you want to be in the world. And the woman on the other side of the counter, it's like she watched this happen in my head. And I kind of paused and I apologized like profusely to her. And I think she thought I was like nuts, right? I think she was like,
That's okay.
separate personalities.
Her medication kicked in at that time, right?
What's that, Donna?
He was thinking, oh, that gal's medication just must have kicked in.
Exactly right. Exactly. But and I had already had some tools in my tool belt, right? So I at least knew enough to recognize that, like I caught myself in the moment. And that's when I really started to take it serious. Like, you have a problem and you need to do something about it, because that is not who you want to be, right? You don't want to embarrass people you love. You don't want to berate people that, I don't want to berate anybody, let alone somebody that doesn't deserve a berating. Right? Some people do. I still don't want to do that. But. Yeah, so that's funny, Kate, that you say that. I think of that moment a lot. I think of that moment anytime I catch myself being reactive, in a negative way. And I'm like, ooh, hold on, girl. Back it up. Not have a Target moment.
I love it. A Target moment.
Target
moment.
That's a good one.
That's so funny. That story. I have a very similar story where I was because I'm the same way, right? And like so much, trauma and whatever in my childhood that I just became a porcupine, right? That's how I think of it now. And like any little thing would bristle me up, and like don't bother me, right? And same idea. I think we were at Food Lion checking out our groceries, and I don't know what the cashier did. I don't even remember the circumstance, but I remember my husband at the time looking at me and going, "You're just an ugly person," and he walked out. Same thing.
Yeah,
he said that.
Yeah, I mean, he was verbally abusive anyway, but he was gonna tell me off in front of that cashier. But in that moment, it made me think same thing of, okay, what am I doing? What am I like? What's wrong with me? It's not what's wrong with me, but you know what I mean. Like, what I don't want to grow up this way. I don't want to be this person, right? And so I love that. That certainly helped me as well. Very similar story. This too ironic.
And as a teacher, it's interesting because we have nowadays, especially, there's so many kiddos that are labeled, bad and troublesome and all the things. But here we are as grown adults, and we can't manage our own emotions and reactions. Why? Mostly because of trauma that we haven't dealt with. Right. And here are these kiddos that are showing up to school every day, a lot of them living in trauma. And they cannot also control their emotions, right? They don't have that regulation skill, which is what you and I had to learn, right? We had to learn how to regulate. Because don't get me wrong, I still get fired up all the time. I do. I get
fired up. Do you release it or not?
Right. I don't. Right. I've learned. I get fired up, and I'm like, okay, hold on a sec. And then I've got my little mantra I tell myself, and we're good.
Exactly.
But hearing
Then
all
when
these.
you do your mantra, do you feel it like released from you?
Oh
and you're
yeah,
not fired up
100%.
anymore?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
for
really
sure.
cool.
Yeah.
So what is
Yeah,
that mantra?
so-
Are you willing to share with everybody? What is your mantra?
Oh, it depends on what's going on, right? And
Okay.
so if there's a situation where I feel like, for example, like maybe I'm being attacked, right? Someone's like talking about me on a personal level that, is frustrating or isn't accurate, right? My
Yeah.
instinct is like, and I want to just like come at you. I'm so angry. Like, how dare you? My reputation means so much to me.
Right.
And then in my head, I'll take a breath. And usually in that kind of circumstance, I'll say, okay, Tracy, you're going to learn something from this. And let's be grateful that this person is just able to do their thing and you're not going to make it worse. So I usually try to turn it into, I'm always trying to, gratitude is always the way, right? Is just, let's be grateful for this situation. Like, how can you find some gratitude and compassion for the person? Because again, usually they're angry, right? That's a big one. A big mantra I have for myself is that sucks that they're not where you're at yet. Because that's all that it boils down to.
I love that.
They're just not where you're at yet.
Yeah.
And so they're blowing up. And so
And you don't know what their day was like either. I mean, you don't have any idea what they went through or what happened that day, or something really bad happened to them in the moment.
Yeah.
And having that grace, to give them that grace, can be like one of the best things you just gave them.
Right.
I love that you said that. My mom always said that. She said, you always need to smile no matter if they're ugly, like ugly as in like angry ugly,
Right.
or they're
Maybe
mean.
really
You just
ugly.
have to give them a smile because you just never know what they've been through. And it's true. And I always just feel so grateful, right, that I've been able to catch myself and not react to their reaction.
Yeah.
Because that's like the worst, right? I mean, it really is when, someone's reacting at
Fuel to
you.
the fire.
Totally. Right. It's like two porcupines.
Shooting quills at each other. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh. I love it.
Well, as you were telling us that story, I was wondering if there's a way to take it even a step farther with you, because you say that you still get initially worked up and fired up. Is there a way to train your mindset so that you don't even have to go there first?
Oh, I'm sure there is. Yeah. There's definitely things that used to get me fired up that don't anymore. And I think it's because I've worked through some of those things on a deeper level, right? And so I recognize that the things that still get me fired up are things that are attached to past issues that I just haven't worked through, right? And that's kind of how I recognize it, right? Because I think all the time, I'm like, oh, look at me, I'm doing so good. I've come such a long way. I've got a therapist, and she's sure to remind me, oh, you still have a long way to go. I know you think you're fixed, but you're not.
Yeah, it's a constant that we're always dealing with stuff. You're just always gonna, when I was a kid, I remember the cartoon with the little angel on the shoulder and the little devil on the shoulder.
Right.
And you're like, who am I gonna let come out today? And it's just like, no, wait, you go away. I'm gonna say
It's the human condition, I feel like, whether you've had trauma or not.
It's right.
It absolutely is. I think that it's just like what the mindset work does is help you transition back right into normalcy, right? So your normal mood or whatever, something will set you off, but that mindset can bring you back down and give you that moment to pause, to regroup, and then to step forward without losing it.
Yeah 100%. Right. I mean, scientifically, when you meditate or breathe, I should say, not even meditate, but you're just doing some breathing exercises, it releases endorphins that just relax you. So it's just so simple as taking a few breaths. One of my tattoos says breathe. It's such a simple thing,
right?
But in the moment, it's really easy to forget. But if you can just, when you find yourself getting excited, just take a couple breaths. but it's easier said than done.
Sometimes
It really is. It's easier said than done. So again, I always remind people, just like, do it, go for it, work at it, try it, and you're not going to be perfect at it. And that's great, because you're not, but
Giving
you're
yourself
doing
grace.
it. And
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
you get faster. The more you do it and the longer period that you've done it, you get quicker at catching those moments and stopping that and converting that to,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
So how has all this helped you in your real estate business?
Yeah. So that's been such a crazy and fun and amazing journey. I will say, boy, if you would have told me a couple years ago that my real estate career would be some of the most growth on a personal and mindfulness level, I would tell you, no way. I've done all this work, like, there's no way. But it's just been over the top, So I got started in real estate because, we had those fires, and I was teaching. That was post-COVID, just on the tail of COVID. And so we'd been teaching online, and it was exhausting teaching online. My mom had actually passed away during COVID. She was living with us on hospice. And so that was like, that had just ended, right? And I started a new teaching job, and there's just so much going on. Then the fires happened. And then my dad passed away like a year after my mom. And teaching was just not the same as it was pre-COVID. It was kind of like, gangbusters, like all bets are off, right? Because these kids are coming back from being home on their own, like doing their thing, doing nothing, whatever. And then in our community, we had all these fires. And so these kids are coming back now with trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma. And so I realized, the fire definitely solidified the reality that life is short, and you just need to live the life that you want. You need to make that life for yourself. If you don't have it, you need to make it. And so I'm trudging away through teaching and dealing with, recovering from the fire, and conversations every day with the insurance company. And I was really, really miserable. And I caught myself, being short sometimes with the kids, and just not having a positive attitude. I was not waking up like, yes, I'm going to work. And I used to. I loved teaching. I did it for a very, very long time. So I started thinking, what can I do? Like, what are my options? I wasn't ready for retirement. So if I left, I was going to lose out on, a lot. But anyway, so I'm thinking and talking about it around the house, and I'm scrolling through social media, and I always say, right, it completely reads our minds. So it knows that Instagram knows that
it really does.
And so every work from home advertisement comes up over and over. And I must have clicked on a real estate one, because then forget about it. It is real estate, real estate, real estate, real estate.
Yeah.
So, right. And ironically, my dad was a real estate investor. We did not have a good relationship. I hadn't talked to him in years, but I clicked on the real estate one, and I'm seeing all these real estate things coming through, and I decided just to go for it. And I was like, I'm going to just check out one of these, mentorships. It was not sub 2, it was a mentorship. And I did their little weekend course that they offered, and I just went for it. I full on had faith in myself that I would make this happen. And I didn't know how it was going to go. I didn't know what was going to happen. I'm a single mom. It was scary as heck. It still is scary.
What kind of mentorship was that first one you did?
Yeah, I did a mentorship that was a women-focused kind of mentorship. And I will say it was great at first, because I felt really safe, right? Because I had to be, you're getting into a whole new thing, and you have to be vulnerable to learn. And as an educator, we're pretty much used to being the expert on the subject matter.
Yeah.
Like, we don't really like to not know what's going on. And so it's true.
Right.
And of course, Pace Morby came through my feed all the time, and but I just didn't jive with that at the moment. I just needed something softer, calmer.
You needed
and
some women, huh?
I did. I just needed some women that I felt that it would be safe, right, to just step into this whole new
Well,
thing.
welcome to Wholesale Hotties.
That's right. Welcome to Wholesale Hotties.
Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's great. It's true. And I love it.
timing, John.
Yeah, that was perfect. But it gave me, it was just a great experience. I met so many amazing women that I'm still friends with today. And I really built up a great foundation and understanding of real estate, so that when I moved and kind of pivoted my focus more onto sub 2 and joining sub 2, I really was able to step in feeling really confident in myself and my skills and knowledge. So
Nice.
I think that was helpful. It's just what I needed at that time. Yeah. So gosh, I did that.
What kind of mindset tools do you think that you had to use during that transition time? You know, once you realized you didn't want to teach anymore, that's a big change.
It was huge. A lot of faith. I mean, I had to have a lot of faith in myself. And my daughter's adorable. She's so cute. She's always like, so proud of me. And we were doing some financial aid stuff for her for colleges, and they needed my my AGI. And fortunately, I had enough depreciation that I had, no income, paid no taxes, right? It was like a negative number. And so I'm sharing this with her, and she was so cute. She goes, "Oh, Mama, it's okay. This year's going to be better. Don't worry. You'll make money this year." It was and I was like, "Oh, girl, we need to have a conversation about depreciation." And I
talk about taxes.
It was really cute. But so that was helpful, just, knowing that I had her confidence in me, but it was just a lot of faith. And, I know that I'm a talented person and I have a lot of things to offer. And so obviously I could always fall back on teaching or, a bazillion different things. So I just remind myself when it gets scary that, you can do this, and you've done lots of hard things. This is not even close to one of the hardest things you've walked through. So you got this, right? You can do this. And I tell myself that a lot of times, like practically every day. When you're a new business owner, there's a lot going on, right? There's just a lot of moving pieces. There's things that you have to do every single day, whether it is, and it's a lot of it's mindset, and consistency, and just taking action rather than just thinking about it. And those are all really hard things. So it was a combination, I think, of I probably leaned on Tony Robbins and Grant Cardone more than, I'd listened to them quite a bit, and read some stuff, and I've always done Tony's free stuff that he does, but I never came at it from an entrepreneur mindset. And so I started kind of diving back into those guys a little bit, and looking at it from, okay, now I'm a business owner. Like, okay, you like have a whole new thing you've got to figure out. Yeah.
You kind of have to brainwash yourself a little bit, right? When you're making changes. And
great way to put it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, when you don't know where money to pay the mortgage is coming from, and you're telling yourself, "Don't worry, I can see it. I can see myself, putting it in the bank. Don't worry, I can see the transfer going from my bank to the mortgage company. No problem." I mean, talk about some faith, right? Like, because that's what it's like to be an entrepreneur in the beginning.
Every day.
Every day you're like, am I going to make some money today? I hope so. The mortgage is due in 4 days.
Right.
And then, like Donda says, what did you call it? The angel?
Oh, the Godwings?
Yeah. The Godwings. And then some Godwings show up, and it's like, you get a phone call, and it's like, hey, I got this deal. You want to wholesale this deal? You're like, oh, boom.
Yeah.
There we go. There's the mortgage. for the next 2 months.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Oh my Lord, right? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a
not
crazy
easy.
thing.
This business is not for the weak at heart or people. It's you really have to, like you said, you got to have a lot of faith in yourself, and you've got to. It's not like a get rich quick thing. People think, oh, look at they just fixed and flipped this house on TV. It looks so awesome. I want to do it. And
And then even when you are a landlord or whatever, you are not just like one or two. You're not like these tenants think that you are such a wealthy person.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I had tenants not pay me for like 11 months because, well, you can handle it. No, dude, I'm fucking going broke. I need Robin.
Yeah. You're like,
Are you kidding?
yeah. Let me show you my bank statement. You probably have more money than I do.
Exactly. You're spending more on crack than I do on food.
Yeah.
Come on now.
But Dawn, it's so true. It's like, yeah, it is not the faint of heart. You have to learn to pivot gracefully. I said that I was 150% in on private money lending and connecting lenders and borrowers for a year and a half. And I multiple times I would say to borrowers, like, you have to learn to pivot gracefully or you will not be successful. You're going to burn every bridge because deals fall through. If you're coming to the table and you can only find one person that wants to lend you money, there's probably a problem with your deal. Like, you should have 2 or 3 people lined up waiting in the wings because things fall apart, right? It could be as simple as someone gets cold feet or the funds, couldn't get wired fast enough or whatever the case may be. And so I've had to, say to borrowers, hey, that person's pulling out because X, Y, and Z. And they're always fairly legitimate. I've never had anybody pull out just because they have cold feet. It's usually something pops up last minute. Oh my gosh. And they just like lose it on you. And I'm like, this is not going to be the business for you.
They need some mindset tools, Tracy.
They do. Let me send you a YouTube.
They were having target moments as a porcupine.
Right, exactly. Oh my gosh. And you're going to lose money. If you become a real estate investor,
Yes.
2 things are guaranteed. You're going to get sued and you're going to lose money.
Don't say that. You're going to get sued.
One of the first things you should learn is asset protection and putting your stuff in the right, structures to keep it safe. And you're not, absolutely, you're absolutely right. And the second thing you need to go for is a tax strategist, so you can learn how to. The word is not
reduce your tax liability.
There you go. That's the word.
I knew what you were going to say, girl.
Keep more money in your pockets. Yes.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Or else you can't do the next thing. And not for nothing, but like my goal is to be able to provide housing for, people that might be struggling or whatever. And if I don't keep my money in my pocket and not in mommy government, then I can't help more people. So
right. Right. Yeah. And you have to have, again, that, that growth mindset because especially if you're in the lending business, your private money lending, it is a tough space, right? And I don't know anybody that's lent for a significant period of time that has not lost money. And you really have to use that as an opportunity for growth. I know myself and my partner, Pam, we did lending together for a year and a half. And we made lots of mistakes, right? And some cost us money and some didn't. But we always were accountable to ourselves. We always took responsibility. And we learned from every inch of our lending. I mean, everything, even on the positive ones, because you can learn and grow every time, right? No matter how it works out. And I think for real estate, that's huge, huge. Yeah.
Yeah, no 2 deals are ever alike. Ever.
No, it's so true. I co-host a Zoom in the Gator community, which is Pace Morby's, lending arm, so to speak. And, it's a lot of new people. We talk about relationship building and communication skills and, And it tends to be a lot of newer gators that come in, and, they just want to talk about everything, which is great, and, but we talk about that a lot, that guys, no two deals are the same. And so it's really important to partner with somebody or many people, because every single deal you're going to learn something. So you can't just go through the training and think, I know it all, right? Because you don't. And every deal is just crazy different. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Getting the school of hard knocks there in real estate as learning as you go, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
And what else are you up to now in real estate, Tracy?
Yeah, so I transitioned out of full-time lending. I do lend on my personal funds, but I'm definitely very cautious. It just, even the best situations can become so disappointing and frustrating. So I'm trying to be really cautious. But I've always also, like a lot of us, have been very passionate about co-living and affordable housing. I shared how I was homeless, and it was very, very hard when I was young to find housing. No one wants to rent to a young person. I think if there was co-living, I mean, there were kind of boarding house style situations, which is actually what got me off of the streets. Was a woman who, it wasn't like an official boarding house, but she just had a big heart for teens, and she would take several kiddos in at a time. And it was a safe environment. There was no shenanigans going on. She just had a big heart. And I was really in a very bad place at that point. And I think had she not come along, I don't know where my road would have taken me. And then when I was divorced and had my daughter and was looking for housing, I was shocked. I had not rented a house in many, many years, probably 25 years or more. And I could hardly find a place to live. No one wanted to rent to a single mom. I had very little income because I was a teacher. And place after place, I was told no. I actually had a landlord say to me, we were looking at a studio, and he goes, I think my daughter was 7 then, or 8. And he goes, I just don't think this is really the right situation. Your daughter's going to be going into puberty soon, and she's going to really need her own space.
Oh my God.
Talk about the porcupine. I was like,
yeah. Mama Bear came out then. Never mind.
Yeah.
I mean, I was flabbergasted. I'm like, I'm sorry. And his wife was there, and I'm looking at his wife like, really? You're like, you should have just smacked him upside the head right now.
Right? Oh my God.
And I said to him, you are so right. It would be so amazing if I could afford a home where my daughter had her own bedroom. But unfortunately, I am a public school teacher in America.
Yeah.
And this is my income, that I am on. And then, then I said I had some money saved. So then I tried the strategy of saying, well, what if I just paid for 6 months or a year? And then I had people go, oh, well, what are you doing that you have all this, money? I'm like,
selling drugs.
I couldn't win. Right. And so
selling your
students wasn't a thing back then, huh?
Right. Exactly. I think so. Affordable housing has just been in my life a big component, right, for my success, right? And so I ended up actually finding a guy who had really just like a dump that he was renting, and he was, nice guy, but probably falls more in the slumlord category than anything else. But he was willing to rent me this house, and it was great. It had 2 bedrooms, it had a big backyard. And I told him what I could afford, and he's like, great, you got it. And just so grateful for that guy. But, the affordable housing it's so hard. So I'm really interested in affordable housing. I love the thought of co-living. I think it's a great way for people that need to get back on their feet, or they don't want, maybe they're on their feet, but they don't want to take care of a big home and they don't want to be alone. There's so many different types of co-living. You know, Monique has co-living for
Sober living.
thank you, sober living, which is a form of co-living, right? There's you know, co-living for vets and for seniors. I have properties in Hawaii, and we kind of set it up for multi-generational living, right? So we have a multifamily where we have two extended families, but they're like large, right? So one family is a mom, a dad, an auntie, and a grandma and some kids, and the other one's a mom and a dad and an auntie and some kids. Nobody would rent to them all together, but they're better off being together, you know, especially for the little kids. They're not having to go to preschool. They're home with family. So it really does make a multi-generational impact when you can keep families together that want to be together. So that's a big part of what I'm working on is you know, building up my portfolio of properties that can support some fashion of co-living and affordable housing. And then another piece of that is that I want to continue to use my passion of education and educate. Oh, here come the puppies. They're coming in.
I saw them.
What's going on with that?
Don't look behind the curtain.
Yeah, don't look behind the curtain. The cat hasn't come up yet. She doesn't bother me all day unless I'm on a Zoom. Then she's like, "Oh, hi." But I also want to continue educating investors on how they can bring affordable housing into their portfolio, primarily through co-living, right? Even if you just take one of your properties that's housing, you know, maybe 2 or 3 people because it's a family, and you open it up and you could put 5, 6 people in that. I mean, you are changing lives dramatically. Not to mention, you're going to make a little bit more money. So it really is a win-win for investors. So those are my long-term goals. And then in the moment, what makes me money, because that, you know, here's like to your point, Sharon, people think, oh yeah, you've got some rental properties, you're rolling in it. No, it does not work that way. These are, you know, owning real estate is a slow go. It takes time. And really the passive income part of it comes a little bit later down the road. I mean, yes, there's some passive income, but you know, a lot of times in the beginning, we're stabilizing the property. You're putting funds away for when the roof leaks or the whatever, because we all know it happens.
Well, yeah, people don't even think about that, right? Even if my rent is say $200 or $300 more than the mortgage, that $200-300, if my HVAC goes out and I'm spending $8,000, that's what, 3 years worth of profit, something like that. Come on now.
Yeah,
Gone.
exactly. Right.
So what am I eating? Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So then you have to have, at least, you know, for me, and I think for a lot of us, you have to have sort of a day-to-day active income. And so that was, for a while, about 1.5 years, was just strictly the lending side of things. But as I've moved away, I really had to learn new talents and skills. And one of the things I learned that I was really good at, because I'd done it all the time, was underwriting properties. Because when you're lending, one of the big pieces is you have to, you know, underwrite a property, comp a property, the whole kit and caboodle. And so I've gotten, you know, joined up with a couple of teams and doing some what we like to call bird dogging, right? So when somebody a wholesaler has a property they're trying to sell, and then I have, you know, a Rolodex, so to speak. Oh, I just totally aged myself there.
What's a Rolodex, Tracy? Never heard of that before.
Right. So I have my list of buyers on my.
There you
go. And so you connect the two, right? And so I love doing that. I'm learning that. Wow, I thought to myself a couple weeks ago, why were you never doing this? Like, you have all these relationships on both sides of the coin from being a lender. You've just never, you know, done much with that. And so that's been really fun. It's really cool you're really helping two different people grow their business. You know, you're helping the wholesaler grow their business. You're helping the buyer, you know, grow their portfolio. So that's been really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's been keeping me really busy. And then I'm also working on public speaking, and that's been really fun. That's been a lifelong dream to
I love it.
speak, you know, share my motivation and inspiration with people, and hope to, you know, bring them some tools and tips and just provide them that inspiration that, look, if I can do this, if I can go from, you know, 15 years old on the street to a mature woman,
There
very
you go.
mature woman, so can you. So that's been a really fun journey. Yeah, Sharon.
That's right. Listen, it is on the hour. You have been talking. It's amazing. Like we just filled up the whole. I can't believe it. I just looked down and wow. Yeah. Listen, okay. If you want to know how can people get in touch with you, if they want to get in touch with you, whether it's about co-living, whether it's about underwriting, or whatever they want mindset. How can people get in touch with you?
At Tracy Koa. You can see it right next to my name. All of my social media handles are at Tracy Koa. I'm more active on Instagram. I do a much better job at connecting with people on direct messages on Instagram. So please reach out. I love to connect with people. If I can support you in your journey in any capacity, I'm here to help. Ladies, this has been a blast.
Yeah.
We're so glad you came to join us today, Tracy. You are absolutely an amazing powerhouse, and I'm so thankful that I get to be a part of your life.
You were a godwing today. Thank you.
A what?
She was a godwing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, thank you so much, Tracy.
Thank you.
It's
Thanks,
really
Good night, everyone.
Bye.